boy Terrance, the Unstoppable Coach Leftridge, with another episode, a crazy already episode of the Unstoppable Story Show. So before I talk anymore, let me check and see if we are live on in any capacity yet. Because let's see, go to my feed. That's still showing the one from 25 minutes ago. So let's refresh. Let's get out of this. Let's come back to this. Let's see what's going on. We've got to be on somewhere. you know what I'm saying? After all this, we have got to be on. This is absolutely crazy.
Mm-hmm.
This is absolutely crazy. Because I am not seeing. Okay, let me go to the other page. Maybe it's on at the other page. If it's on at the other page, Christine, I am just going to laugh, and laugh. And that's where it is. Ha ha ha. Wow.
I'm telling you right now.
Wow. See, there we are right there. So here's what we're going to do. Boy, I tell you, we just going to start a watch party and we just going to keep it moving. Here we go.
Okay. Yes, because we're not doing nothing else.
We know we are on live on the Unstoppable Stories page. So welcome anybody who is watching on the Unstoppable Stories page. And we just started a watch party. So we're going to invite some people in. I am your host, Mr. Unstoppable. And as always, I tell you guys each and every week, something happens to prove that this show actually is unstoppable. Whether it's technology that tries to get in the way, whether it's something outside of the show that makes me late for the show or doesn't allow our guests to be on the show and we have to reschedule, each and every week something happens. But here's what I want you guys to know, and here's what I want you to take away from whatever it is you're doing in your own life. You can get stuck. You can get to a fork in the road, but don't ever stop, because if you stop, then you just might miss out on the most important word or the most important situation or the most important event in your life. The devil's busy, y'all, and we here at the Unstoppable Story Show have no place at the table, on camera, behind the scenes for the devil. He's got to go. He got to move, get out the way, because we are bringing phenomenal people here to the show. So as I go ahead and invite some other people in real quickly to this watch party, I just want to welcome you guys. Thank you guys for watching quality programming. Whether you are watching it live or whether you're watching the show on the replay, I know it's going to be a blessing to you, because this phenomenal woman on the other side of the camera is going to bless you with her unstoppable story. She's none other than Christine Roberts Kozachuk. She is a phenomenal entrepreneur of over 20 years, but that's not the most important thing about her. She is a genuine, authentic ambassador for women all over the world to help them, teach them that they can overcome their obstacles and go on to live the life that they were created to live. So welcome to the show. Finally, Miss Christine Kozachuk. Hey, Christine, how are you?
I am great after all we went through.
All we went through, yes.
You texted me the other day, third time's the charm, right?
Yes.
And it has taken us an hour to get on from our scheduled time. So yeah. I know this is going to be phenomenal, because for me, when I say I have technical difficulties when I'm doing my podcast or my Facebook Live, I know it's going to be phenomenal. So
absolutely.
Yes, thank you.
So why don't you start just by introducing yourself formally and letting them know who you are?
My name is Christine Roberts Kozachuk, and I am an international speaker, actually an award-winning international speaker, and I am a podcast host, Facebook Live, and author of actually 5 books. I am also a coach, and my initiative is called the Every Girl Wins, and the Every Girl Wins Institute will support women all over the world because I'm a women's life skills expert, and I help women all over the world know who they are in their confidence and supporting them and knowing who they are as a woman, and actually also showing them that fear of failure, the fear of failure will always, it will always be there, but I will show them how to overcome that.
What happened?
Oh,
Okay, can you see me?
now I can.
Okay. Something.
Did we have some technical difficulties again?
Well, just we're trying to do some different things, and we just can't. We just got to do what we need to do and stop playing around with it. Let me, I'm trying to pull you back up at the same time. Here we go. Okay. What's going on? Oh, Jesus. I should I should have not touched anything. Should have just left everything like it was. Here I go trying to be fancy and everything. Okay. All right, we're gonna work this out. Hold on just one second. Live TV, y'all. That's what this is all about. Live streaming TV. There you are now. How do I get us both back up? Move. Okay, well, I'm trying to get you up there too. There we go.
Okay, there we go. Okay.
All right. So I'm not going to touch anything else. Hey, Ron. Hey, Jeff Marketing. Thanks you guys for coming in. You guys will swipe and share. I promise this will be a worthwhile show. So, Christine, so you have a couple of shows. You have 5 different books, as you said earlier. Here's what I want to ask you first, and before we jump into our conversation. And it's a question that I ask every person that's a guest on the Unstoppable Story Show, whether they come on time or whether they're an hour and 15 minutes later. Doesn't matter. That question is, what does it mean to you when you hear the word unstoppable?
Oh, wow. When you asked me that question during, kind of you told me that that would be one of the questions that you would ask. And I thought about it. And for me, the word of, being unstoppable is just never giving up, kind of like tonight. I mean, our show was supposed to start at 8 o'clock, and here it is at 9:03, kind of just beginning.
Yeah.
And, for me, it's, when, my life story is I had to be unstoppable, because if I was not unstoppable, I would not be where I am at today, and my children would not be at where they're at today. You cannot allow anything in your way at all. You have to continue moving forward no matter what it is in life, to be unstoppable. There's many times you're going to be right, you're going to fall flat on your butt, but you've got to get up and continue going.
Absolutely. And I thank you for sharing that with you. I think it's always good. I always ask that question because I want to get a different person's perspective. And just like as different as you and I are, we both have different perspectives on life, but we both seem to agree on what that word unstoppable means. And you
Mhm.
truly have an unstoppable story going all the way back to your teenage years. So why don't we pick it up uh, as your story? Age 13, find out you're pregnant, small town values, small town gossip. And why don't you pick it up from there, the story of Christine and how her story begins?
Mm. Yeah, my story began at extremely very young age. At the age of 13, I became pregnant with my first son. And then I had my daughter when I was 15, and then I had my third son at the age of 18. I actually became pregnant, not pregnant, but married to their father at the age of 14 years old. My mother went through it in front of a judge and signed the papers for me to marry at the age of 14. Through that years of between the age of 14 and the age of 18, he was extremely abusive, physically and emotionally and mentally abusive to me. Not only that he was emotionally abusive to me, but also the community itself, because I came from a very small rural community in the town in West Virginia, that they would tell me that I was unworthy, that I would never amount to anything, that I would never do anything for my life, with my life. But you know what, Terrance? I showed them wrong. At
Yes.
the age, at the age of 18, when I was on death's doors with my ex-husband, he literally at that night when I walked out, I had no transportation, I had no money, I had no family here in North Carolina because I actually was from West Virginia, and that's where all my family was from. And my ex-husband that day had beat me all day long. I mean, when I say all day long, I mean all day long. Tore up my clothes, and my children at that time, my son, my youngest son, wasn't even two. There were 2, 3, and 4 at the time
Mm.
when I left. And he tried to he strangled me with a fishing twine, and also took a bow and arrow and tried to shoot me with it and kill me.
Wow.
And I literally, at that moment when I was laying on the couch and he was doing this to me, and I said, God, please take me. I cannot do this anymore. But I looked over and I saw my 3 children screaming and crying. And somehow God lifted me off the couch after being beaten all day on death's doors, grabbed my 3 children, walked out that trailer to never look back again.
Absolutely. And
And
just let me stop you right there as we're talking to Christine Kozachuk on the Unstoppable Stories show with Terrance Leftridge. What you went through is a lifetime in those 4 years. A
oh my
lifetime of
God.
tragedy, tribulation, devastation. It's nothing that I would want anyone to go through. But then when you
Mhm.
couple it with the fact that you went through it from the ages of 14 through 18, a period in anybody's life where you're just discovering yourself, where you're just beginning to really embrace what life is all
Mhm.
about. But in your case, you couldn't embrace what life was all about because you were spending most of your time just trying to survive.
Mhm.
How was that working for you as a young girl, a wife, 3 kids, and not even the age of adulthood yet, as far as the law was concerned, having to deal with all that at the same time?
I look back at it now. I'm 48 years old, and I look back at it now. And a lot of people like yourself ask me, how did I do it? You know what? I don't know.
Mm.
And tell people, I say, it's just one, minute at a time. And I look back, it's like 1 second at a time. And what I know is I had to have faith in God to be able to move forward and know that He was standing right beside me
Mm-hmm.
to get me through what I need to get through.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and there's nothing that I can look back on now and say what got me through that other than God above.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. I know what got you through it. It was
Mhm.
but God was in the mix. And, we talk about, because, we're both a part of the BBS global family.
Mhm. Yes.
We believe in it. Without a test, there's
Mhm.
no testimony. So he was setting you up even at that young, tender age. He was preparing you for the work that you're doing now. And we're going to talk about all the amazing things that you're
Mhm.
doing right now. But before we move from that, I want you to take a second to speak to the 14 to 18-year-old Christines that are out there right now. Maybe they're not married, but maybe they are. Maybe they've had their child or their second child, or maybe they don't have a child, but maybe they're in a relationship that
Mhm.
isn't the right relationship for them. Maybe it's an abusive relationship, even though they may not be married. What words would you say to those women if you could talk to them right now?
Never give up. Never allow anyone to say to you that you ruined your life, that you are unworthy. Never give up. Prove them wrong, because you have not ruined your life. Your life is just begun. Just because you have this child at such a young age, or anything else, it can not even a child at such a young age, it could be something different than that. Never give up on your dreams. Yes, if it's a child, you may have a child that's with you that you have to provide for. You may have a child that that's with you that you have to also move them along with you to create the dream that you want for your life. And actually, that will motivate you more, because if I tell people, if it was not for my children, I may not be here where I am today, because for my children, they were my why in life, and I pulled them along with
Mm,
my children, because I wanted not just more for myself, but I wanted more for my children. And I knew the people that told me that I could not, I was proving them wrong for me and my children.
I love it. I love it. We're talking to Christine Kozachuk on the Unstoppable Story Show with Terrance Leftridge. And I talk a lot about, Christine, that sometimes we have to have our defining moment. And our defining moment leads to our unstoppable decisions. So what was the defining moment for you that allowed you to make that decision to move from what you were doing and what you were going through into the path that you're walking right now?
Mm. Because Terrance, when my children were young, I had 14, 15, and 18, and I came from a broken home. I came from a divorced family. I came from a small community of around 700 in a small town, rural in West Virginia. Where it was poverty stricken, the really drugs, and it was either most of the people is either on drugs or pregnant or both in this community. And for me, the defining moment was when I was on death doors. And as much as I tried to make this marriage work, because I didn't want my kids to be, from a broken home or anything. My defining moment was when I was on death doors and I walked out of there and I knew that there was a better, life for me and my children, and I was going to create it for them. So on my death doors, that's when I knew that I was never going to walk back to that situation again. I don't care what it took for me and my children. We were not going to live in that situation again.
So where did you walk to? You decided you wasn't going to walk back to that. Where did you walk to?
Well, when I walked out, I had nobody, Terrance. I mean, I was in Lincoln, North Carolina. My family's in West Virginia. I went to the neighbors, called my babysitter, which is the only person that I can actually depend on.
Okay.
She took us in until I was able to get my life together. And then I actually moved to Florida with my aunt.
Okay.
My aunt is actually the one, she says, Christine, come here. So I moved to Florida, with my children, to my aunts in Florida. And that's where I met my wonderful husband now of 20. Well, we've been together 28 years.
Wow.
28 years. And, I went back to school, made my GED, because the highest education, Terrance, that I had was actually a 6th grade education.
I can understand that at the age where all this started happening in your life. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I went to 7th grade just a little bit. And then when I married him, I quit. But the fullest education that I had was actually 6th grade. So I made my GED, met my husband, and life from that point on has just been incredible.
And yes, it is. And you've got a whole lot of accomplishments that have occurred since you had that defining moment that led to that unstoppable decision. And so we're going to touch upon those good things that have occurred in your life since then. And we're going to go to some bullet points just to get to where you are right now. But you became an entrepreneur. And you had run this trucking company, the RC Mobile Truck Repair Services, for over 20 years.
Yeah, 24 years.
Okay, so now, you guys, you're watching this live or you're watching it in the replay. I want y'all to take a good look at Christine. And, I always say we don't look like what we've been through. But here's the other thing. Does Christine look like someone who repairs trucks, y'all? Come on.
I tell people I still wear my high heels doing it too.
Oh, Ron, we're going to have to talk about that later. That's a whole nother conversation. We can't, this PG show. But that's the beautiful thing. The beautiful thing is that as elegant as you look and as charming as I know you are in person, no one would ever think that you could talk about a carburetor, you could change the oil, you can pull the pan out, and you can get the starter starting on that truck. So how did that come into your life?
Okay. How that came into my life was, I don't do all the mechanical parts. Just want to make it clear. I don't do the mechanical parts. But how that came about was, my husband and I, once Florida, we moved back to North Carolina. I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. And he, in the military, he'd done the mechanical parts. And by this time, I had done office work. And I was actually, by this time, I had worked myself up to a manager of an answering service. If anybody remembers an answering service, that long ago.
No, she didn't mean voicemail, y'all.
Voicemail, answering service, all that. So by that time, I knew the background of an office work, but for our children, and I will always go back to my children, that he and I were working 2 full-time jobs, barely making ends meet. With 3 children, we were still renting, and we said, let's start a part-time job. We never knew, Terrance, that this was going to blow up into this 24-year-old business. So we worked our truck repair business for 5 solid years while he and I both worked our full-time jobs raising 3 kids. Because I tell people, because my kids need to eat. They needed things. Right. And we were just barely making. And I tell people, I said, if on a Thursday, you're getting paid on Friday, you have $5, your husband, yourself don't have gas in your car and your kids needs a gallon of milk to be able to eat for the cereal the next morning, what do?
Yeah.
So as like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Yeah. I understand.
So that's how we started RC Mobile, and we just thought it was going to be, extra income to give our children what they needed. How kids, they extra pair of shoes, or them, pants, or that basketball or whatever. We never dreamed that both of us would work this full time in the year 2000. April of 2000. March of 2000, he quit his job. April 2000, I quit my job, and we have still continued that business since, full time.
That is fabulous. And it's like you said earlier, even that company was connected to your why, which were your
Yes.
children. And here's
Yes.
the one thing that we know is, as long as you know your why, then the how will figure itself out. And it not only figured itself out for you, it turned into a flourishing thing that continues to grow and grow and grow. But the beauty of it is, that's not the end of the story for you. Not only are you an entrepreneur of 24 years with a business, you also had a fitness studio during that time.
Actually, two.
That's still going on?
No, I sold those.
Okay. See, look, she sold the business. The business didn't go belly up, y'all. She sold.
Those.
This is a wonderful thing. This woman who at 13 had one child, and by 18 had 3 children, and was in an abusive relationship, now years later, decades later, is a 6-figure income earner, entrepreneur, doesn't work for anybody, works for herself, and decided that even that wasn't enough. She didn't want to be stopped at that point. A lot of people would have took that situation and decided to live on their laurels and say, hey, I have made it. This is where I need to be. I'm going to sit pretty and watch the checks come through from the repair company, or watch the checks come through from the fitness studio. That wasn't enough for her. She now has changed the game once again, and now she is not only a motivational speaker, we're going to put all the adjectives up there. She is an international BBS global motivational speaker and a world civility ambassador. Y'all, let me introduce y'all again to Christine Kozachuk. Tell us about this new chapter in your life, as Ron is just blowing you up as a cheerleader in the room. He is like this strong, independent woman and the brainchild of RC Mobile. Now you are this world civility ambassador and internationally known motivational speaker. How did that come about?
Well, first of all, my husband is my biggest cheerleader besides my kids.
Shout out to Ron. Ron, she ain't called your name one time. Shout out to Ron.
Honey. But you know what? How'd that come about? And I always knew I had a story, and I always knew that I needed to share it with the world. But because at such a young age, I was told that I could not, I would amount to nothing. I was unworthy. I would never, do anything with my life or anything like that. I wanted to speak and show other women they could do exactly what I'd done. That it took me such a long time to figure that out, Terrance. Because
why was it important for you to show other women how to do that?
Because I never wanted them for so many years to feel in the way because it took me so many years to feel, that feeling of unworthiness and everything. I never want another woman to feel that way again. I never want them to suffer, with their confidence. I never want them to suffer at all. I want them to tell their story. I want them to feel, confident in telling their story. I want other women to reach out to them and say, hey, it's okay. I've been there. Because for me, I thought I was all alone. And and it took me a long time to realize I wasn't alone in this world with so many women going through what I went through, and I never want another woman to suffer in the way I suffered for so many years.
Love it. So let me ask you, let me get some clarity, because you thought you were alone. Did you think you were alone being the only one who was going through the type of situations you were going through? Or did you think you were alone because you had no one to talk to about the
No,
situations you were
I
going
thought I was the only one going through it. I would
through?
look at women, because women, the thing with women is we don't share, because we close ourselves up, and we don't want other women to know what's going on. We want everybody to look at this perfect life that we have. We
Mhm.
don't have this perfect life. I mean, we do not have this perfect life. And when I would look around and I thought other women had this perfect life, and that I was the only one that was going through what I went through, until one day I was sitting in a round table, a mastermind group of women, and I was like, no, they don't have it together either. I'm
Mhm.
not the only one. But Terrance, it took me to I'm 48. It took me until I was 44 years old to realize this.
Well, first of all, you don't look like you're 48 or 44, so we're gonna move
Thank
right
you.
past that one. So that
And I'm a grandmother of 5, so I'm just going
okay,
to shout that out too.
okay. But you know what? Just a statement you just made, and I'm going to say the same thing. When you say women don't like to share, women don't like to tell, men don't either. We will keep that to ourselves. We will introduce you to our representatives. We as men will introduce you to our nice flashy car, or we'll show up in our nice suit, and don't let you know that that's the only suit we have. We just change the shirt every time you see us, and we will suffer in silence, because most men, we were brought up to believe that we had to pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps, and if we couldn't do that, then we were weak. And I would submit that in your case, or in the female case, that you don't want to show your scars to the world, because unfortunately for so many women, for so many years, they've had to be the rock, they've had to be the foundation, they've had to be the pillar of keeping that family together for your kids, or even for your mate that might be going through something at the time. So we can't show our vulnerability, but on the inside, we all want to be respected. We all want to be loved. We all want to be able to reach out to somebody to help us when we can't help ourselves. So I'm glad that God allowed you to go through the test, so that you can have the testimony, so that now you can also provide a platform for other women to feel what you weren't able to feel on your own while you were going through it.
Mhm.
So thank you for being strong enough. Thank you for being unstoppable enough to go through, to get through to the place where you are now, so that you can give back to those. So as you said, no other woman will ever have to feel the way that you felt when you were going through what you were going through. So
Mhm.
tell us about some of the great opportunities you've had to speak since you decided to walk down this road.
Oh, wow. I mean, I've actually had the opportunity to speak in Guyana twice.
Yes.
So I am so excited, that I've been able to been exposed to a new world that I've never been exposed to.
Hmm.
And then actually in July I will be exposed to Africa. I'm actually headed there to speak to in Africa
To
and
Nairobi, right?
Nairobi. Yes, so I'm
Mm.
very excited about that. So that for me, this is global for me. It's just not here in the United States. This is something for women around the world that I get to help. And my initiative is called Every Girl Wins Institute, that I'm actually working with Dr. Clyde Rivers with,
Okay.
that supporting women around the world and showing them as the life skills and things that actually what I've been through. And like you were saying earlier, I tell people that at one time I felt like I was a victim and what I went through, but what I realized, God put me through that to be standing here right now to show other women around the world that they too can overcome what I've overcome.
Yes, and you also have a Facebook show called Every Girl Wins, and
Yes.
you talk about the focus of that is to show women how they can go through the obstacles and come out and be the success that they are. And I
Absolutely.
love that platform. I
Hmm.
love how you very similar to what we do here on the show. We don't talk about just who you are right now because that's the easy part. People love to see where people are right now, and then they tend to think that because you've seen them where they are right now, they've always been there. But I love how you're being vulnerable and how you're being transparent, and you're not just showing them who you are right now, but you're really taking them through the journey of what you had to go through, the obstacles you had to overcome to get to the success that you are today. And to recognize that you're an everyday girl from the South who had a sixth grade education before all this happened, but in spite of that, you were able to persevere, overcome, and be the successful person that you're doing right now.
Hmm.
What kind of feedback have you been getting from the people that you've had the opportunity to speak to?
Oh my gosh, it's all been positive because there's so many women that start coming out and saying, I've been there. You know, thank you for sharing. I've been there. So it's been so positive. And, like I said, I never thought several years back that I would get that positivity, but it's just been, I mean, I'm lost for words sometimes when I think about it. I think about the women that I'm helping, the women that, my classes right now that are in Guyana that I'm helping because we have a class like every 2 weeks. And just, the women that I hear their stories. And then I have to continuously tell them my story to, let them know that it's okay. It's okay because long as you have that unstoppable, you know,
Yeah,
yeah, the
that
unstoppable
spirit.
spirit, yes, that you can go, you can do whatever you want in life. You just have to keep pushing forward and never giving up in
I
life.
love it. I love it. And then recognizing that whatever you've been through in your past, you have been through it. And if that didn't stop you, there's
Yeah.
nothing that can come your way that can stop you. If he hit you with his best shot when you were
Yeah.
14 years old. Now that you
Mhm.
are, and I still think you're lying. Now that you're 48 years old, you know what he did when he was 14 doesn't even phase you today.
Mm-mm. It
So
doesn't.
that is so phenomenal, and I love how you are continuing to share that message on a bi-weekly basis, so that sometimes if people only hear the message once, then they're motivated that one time, but then the real world comes back and slaps them in the face. They need to have that positive reinforcement over and over again. They need to hear stories like yours over and over again, because many times the people we speak to, they don't get it the first time, and they
Mm-mm.
don't get it the second time. Maybe they don't even get it the 40th time, but if we keep telling our story and we keep sharing our struggles as well as our success, one day that one person, the light bulb is going to come on, and that one person may be the person that changes the rest of the world only because they got the opportunity to hear your
Yes,
story.
yes, absolutely. And do it for that one, right?
Do it for the one. But
Yeah.
here, I don't want you to ever believe for 1 second that what you're doing is just having an effect on women. Because I'm going to tell you a personal story. In doing this research for our interview that we were supposed to have 3 weeks ago.
Four times the charm, and this one was unstoppable.
Absolutely. I ran across that you not only are a phenomenal speaker and you are an author of 5 books, but the book that really touched me and moved me to action was Letters of Love, Dear Loved One. Now, if you guys haven't gotten this book, then you guys need to go to christinekozachuk.com and order your copy of the book because it is a compilation of love letters let me say that again, because y'all didn't get that. It is a compilation of love letters. I didn't say love calls. I didn't say love texts. I didn't say anything about social media. These women in this book, including Christine, put pen to paper and they wrote physical letters. Some of them sent them by mail, some of them gave them, some of them just put this in the book for others to read. But I'm a firm believer in that you got to give people their flowers while they're here, because we can't smell them when we're gone.
Mm.
And to take the time to write down your feelings about somebody else and share that with them is the ultimate form of love in my book. And I like how you decided that you want to do this. So tell us a little bit, what was the catalyst for you to do that book and bring these other phenomenal women into on the book with you?
Yeah. Hold 1 second. I've got to get my book.
Okay.
Hold 1 second.
Absolutely. We're talking to Christine Kozachuk on the Unstoppable Stories show. Let's shout out some people while we're waiting for her to come back. Of course, we're going to shout out her greater half, Ronald Kozachuk. He's like, never judge a book by its cover. Absolutely. Ashley Michelle, thank you for joining us. Ashley, she says, yes, your past doesn't define who you are and what you are capable of. Such an inspiration. Thank you, Ashley. Kokisha LaShawn said hello. Hey, Kokisha, thanks for joining us. Come on, swipe and share, swipe and share. Donald Tolston, hello, Christine. Hey, Donald, thanks for joining us. Thank you guys for joining us in this abbreviated version of the Unstoppable Story Show. And if you're watching it in replay, go ahead and put your comments in there, and then we will definitely come back and shout you out later as well. So, Christine,
yes,
Letters of Love, Dear Loved One. Tell us about that book.
Yes, this is a book that actually, and I have your address, Terrance. I'm getting that out. You know, I've had a crazy 3 weeks.
I understand.
But this book was actually in 2013. My grandmother passed away. And there's so many days, because her and I talked so much, that I would be walking through the home and like, okay, I need to call my grandmother. And I wish I could pick up that phone and call her and tell her exactly what I was feeling, how I was feeling about her, and how much I loved her. And it came to me, I can still do that. And that's how I came up with this book for women around the world. And I will be doing one for men also,
Okay.
to do it for men to be able to write to their mother or their father or anything like this. But this book here is Letters of Love, Dear Loved One. And it's for the women in our life. I actually wrote one to my grandmother that had passed away. I wrote one to my mother, my daughter, and my granddaughter. And I have other co-authors that actually co-authored it. Because what we do in this right now, in this lifetime, you know, I was born in the 70s, where, you know, you still had that phone, you still had the pen, you still wrote.
Right.
But now we have so much technology
Yes.
that we forget to really call and say, hey, I love you, or pick up that pen. Because so many people, you know, my husband that's my biggest fan right now, he's all the time writing me the little love letters. I'll wake up in the morning and he'll write one that says, I love you, you know, and just different things like that. But we forget
Yes.
of how special that if someone passed away, you know, that I can still pick up these love letters, and not just this book, but the love letters itself. You can actually pick up a piece of paper and just give it to them. They can pick it up and say, wow, I remember when she wrote this to me, or I remember when he wrote this to me. You know,
I remember where I was when I read it, things like that. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And you know, they say simplicity makes the biggest statement, and we get away from that. And so let me share that personal story with you. So when I was doing this research, and I saw you and one of the other co-authors, you were on another show talking about the book, and it was right around the time of my mother's birthday. My mother's birthday was in May, and I said, you know what? Because My mom is 77 years old, so I think I have probably given her well, now she's 79 years old. I think I've given her every birthday card that has ever been created in 79 years. And it was always somebody else's words. They may have been conveying what I was thinking at the time, but they always are somebody else's words. And so I said, well, you know what? Her birthday's coming up. I'm not going to buy a card. I'm not going to go buy a piece of fancy jewelry. I'm not going to get any of those trinkets. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write her a letter. And that was my birthday gift to mom. And that was inspired by you. So thank you.
I so love it. Yes. And and that's what I want others to do. I want to encourage them to continue doing what you did. And because there's nothing like a letter from your heart to tell someone how much they mean to you.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I do appreciate that. So again, if you guys want to get a copy of the book Letters of Love, Dear Loved Ones, go to ChristineKozachuk.com and you can order your copy there along with her other 5 books. So tell them briefly about your other 5 books.
Yes, my very first book that I wrote was it's called The Knot Formula on How to Create the Life That You Deserve. That was my very first book. And then the second one was Live Your Best Life, Walk by Faith, and that was with Dr. Ruben West. And my third book was I actually wrote a podcast book, and that's through ebook. That's actually not a hard copy.
Right.
That's just an ebook of how to do a podcast. But so many people say, how'd you do it? Well, you know what? Here's how I did it. Okay. Podcast, Women Who Triumph. And Women Who Triumph is kind of like, Every Girl Wins. It shares stories of women. They sharing stories of what they went through and, how they triumphed to the top. Mm-hmm. And then the next one was with the Tracy Ward was, the chosen one, define your greatness with, Tracy Ward that I did with that. And then the Letters of Love, Dear Loved Ones. So I have done 5 books within a year and a half. And I told my husband, I'm done. I'm done. I'm tired. I said, I'm not doing it no more right now for many, many more years.
Okay. Well, you know what? Many people go through life without writing 1 book. And in a year and a half, you've written 5 books. And trust me, I trust and believe, I understand. I wrote my first book in 2014. And it took me 2.5 years to write that book. 2 years because I was just completely playing around with it. And then 6 months after connecting with a coach who said that the story that I was just writing for myself, which was it was a journal and a book that I was writing for my own edification. He was like, well, that story touches other people. There are many other people who want to be unstoppable too. Mm-hmm. And he showed me the roadmap on how to turn that from just a thought into a book. And not only have I written a book, but I have been part of 4 collaborations.
Wow.
And I have now, on June 22nd, I will have now created 22 first-time authors as a
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, so look at God, but God, like we said earlier, and I was my story nowhere touches what you had to go through, but I have my own defining moment, and my own defining moment led me to an unstoppable decision that has led to this show being on the air through video live stream for over 2 years. And before that, it was a podcast on Blog Talk Radio for 3 years. So. Yeah. But it all went from the fact that we had to go through something. So you, just like people are watching this show right now, and you may see this nice little banner behind me and that glowing aura on Christine's face, and you may think we've been like this all the time. Mm-hmm. Hell no. Hell no. Let me make that clear. But that's not what we want you to focus on. What we want you to focus on is the people that you see now are the people you see now because we went through, we grew through, and now we're doing it for the one, to give it back to you, so that one day you'll pay it forward, and then you'll tell your story, your unstoppable story, so that somebody else can hear from you. Because this story is going to touch somebody. Christine is going to touch somebody on this broadcast. She's going to touch a lot of somebody's on this broadcast, but she may not touch you. There may be somebody else that touches you, and then it may be you that touches the next person. That's what this Unstoppable Story Show is. We talk to ordinary people with unstoppable stories, so that to show you, the viewer, that if we can do it, if Christine can do it, if Coach T can do it, then yeah, you can do it too. Christine, we are coming to the end of it. So I want you to give us some final words of wisdom from yourself. And I want you to talk about the quote on your page. And when they go to ChristineKozachuk.com, right there in bold, big letters, it says, "Fix and rise above." Talk to us about that quote.
Fix and rise above is actually, it comes from a quote that I love so much, is you have to become uncomfortable to become comfortable. And what that means is that you have to face your fears time and time again, not just side to side, but face them fully on to become uncomfortable for you to become comfortable. And one of my biggest quotes and my motto in life is, always do what you're afraid to do with no regrets.
Powerful, very powerful. I love it. I love it. One of my favorite quotes by Dr. Martin Luther King is, not the true measure of a man is not where he sits in times of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of conflict and controversy. Where are you going to stand when it's hard? What are you going to do when it becomes uncomfortable?
Yes.
If you learn how to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, then you'll never be stopped. Just like my friend Christine Kozachuk, a true unstoppable story. Thank you so much, Christine. How can they get in contact with you? Maybe they don't want to go to the website. Maybe they want to have an intimate, close-up conversation with Christine to share their story, or maybe they want to talk to Christine about how they can write their own love letter, or maybe they want to talk to Christine about how they can create the next podcast. How can they get in contact with you?
Well, you can give me a call, because I love to talk, as you can see, Terrance, at 704-208-9561. Or you can actually, I'm on social media just with my name, Christine Kozachuk, either on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. That's exactly how you can contact me, Christine Kozachuk, at Christine Kozachuk, or, on that, or my personal page, Christine Roberts Kozachuk. That's how you know me, it's Christine Roberts Kozachuk. But I have a page at Christine Kozachuk, and then that's on there. Or my email, Christine Kozachuk at ChristineKozachuk.com.
Fascinating. I am so glad that we made this happen. I'm so glad you have that unstoppable spirit, just like I do, that we were not going to let this night go by without making it happen. I know somebody is blessed. Diamond Queen said she loved that quote. I'm not sure if it was my quote or her quote. Ashley Michelle sends out hearts. Of course, your favorite cheerleader is out in the room. Release in explanation. Patrick Artist, the Gladiator, said, "That's awesome. Do it for the one," and he is the one. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in to the later, extended, unedited, all that version of the
definitely unedited.
We certainly hope that this was a blessing for you. We certainly hope that you will go and share it with other people. This is a phenomenal story. It needs to be heard across the globe. And Christine, blessings to you. I wish you much, much, much continued success. Much love to you and Ron on the unstoppable, powerful couple that you two have created over these decades, and onward and upwards. And you are welcome back on the show anytime on the Unstoppable Story Show. All right.
Thank you.
You guys, you're welcome. So Christine Kozachuk, go to her page, christinekozachuk.com. Check her out on all social media. And thank you guys for watching the Unstoppable Story Show, where we talk to ordinary people with unstoppable stories. And as always, you know what I like to say, wherever you are in the world today, don't just make it a great day, make it an unstoppable day. Take care.